Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu. From what we have discussed, all that is here is Ishvara. Or I can say, all that is here is myself. That is one step behind. If I say all that is here is Ishvara, I mean subject and object. Known object, unknown object, mistaken object also. So that is me. Mistaken object, that is me. But mistake included, all that is here is Ishvara. Within that, the subject being alienated from the total is subject to fear, is subject to alienation, and therefore is bound to commit mistakes. Because that alienation itself is a mistake. Anything born of alienation is all mistake. There is no question about that. There is no alienation. Because the subject and object are Ishvara. That means the subject is related to a given object which is within your awareness of the presence of Ishvara. The transcendental aspect, I will come to it later. So that is where I am the whole. That is afterwards. Now the take-home material is only that all that is here is Ishvara. The subject is Ishvara. Object is Ishvara. This is all that is here. Therefore, the Vastu is only. So, though he padartha, though he hai padartha, one is the subject, the other is object. If Ishvara is other than you, it becomes object. Therefore, out of sight, out of mind. Or out of mind, out of sight. That is better. Sometimes out of sight it is in mind. That is the issue. But out of mind, definitely out of sight. There are a lot of things. One of them is Ishvara being separate from you. You think of Ishvara now. Then you think of credit card because you prayed for money. And then even while praying for money, credit card is looming large in your head. Then Ishvara went away, credit card is there. So credit card replaces Ishvara. Think of this. Credit card replaces Ishvara. Therefore, Ishvara is replaced, displaced also. Therefore, Ishvara should be waiting in the list. Your mind generally goes in its own way. Even we don't know what is the logic. It's got its own logic. And therefore, we can hope it will stumble upon Ishvara at some time. Oh, Ishvara. This is what Ishvara is. You can dismiss Ishvara because he's an object. But he will not be Ishvara. Ishvara other than you, he is not Ishvara, he is another person. Another imagined person. That is the religion of all people, I tell you. In India also we have them all. It's not that only here, elsewhere it is there. All religions, whether it is Islam or it is Christianity, or Hare Krishna, our own friend, he also thinks Lord Krishna is there in Goloka Vrindavan, another heaven, waiting there to play dandiya with this fellow. That is his thinking. He has no other job. So he has got this kind of thinking. So you have different concepts. Yesterday, Obama had a slip of the tongue. And the slip of the tongue is my Islamic faith. That is the slip of the tongue. Better understand this. I have been telling this. My Islamic faith. Will you ever have a slip of your tongue about your religion? He has got a right to be a Muslim. But you should have a right to elect a Muslim. You also have a right to elect a Muslim who denies you the right. But you must know. My Islamic faith means there are only two types of people in the world. One is believer, the other is non-believer. I have been fighting against this. Because for one believer there is one set of rules, non-believer another set of rules. In Bombay, one of the judges, criminal judges, and he asked this question: why all the people were prosecuted for crime are Muslims? There are more Muslims. He asked the question as though the prosecution is partial. But the problem is, the Muslim faith is, you should humiliate an infidel, a kafir. You can rob him, you can cheat him, you can lie to him, you can strike truce with him if he is powerful, and once you become powerful, you need not follow the truce, treaty or anything, because you cannot have a treaty with unequals. They are unequals. So this is the religious thinking. This is not personal, one person's thinking. This is a religious sanction. Believer, unbeliever, this is a religious sanction. So this is what we are trying. Let us have human values so that we all can live together in harmony. We are fighting in the conferences of religious leaders and all that. So far no success, but I hope we will succeed over a period of time. Because they are also human beings. So I believe in the goodness of a human being. And therefore we can convince them at one time or the other. But now the doctrine is more powerful than common sense thinking, than human values being universal. That we are not able to convince. I draw always blank. I try very nice argument, nice build-up and all that. Finally, I come back disappointed. That's what happens every time. Very unfortunate. It is all because of this dualism. The faith becomes more powerful than common sense, common values. The common sense, common values which belongs to every human being, whether the person is a tribal or educated, it's common. As a human being, it's common. But they have to be contradicted by a theology. That means a lot of indoctrination is necessary against common values. It is something like, so this, this invasive procedures. The human body is programmed. And there are fine capillaries in your eyes. I'm just giving an example. Fine capillaries in your eyes that supply, that take care of the eyes. In all these capillaries there is blood and there is infusion. That's how the eyes are nourished. If there is diabetes or some other reason, these fine capillaries, they begin to break. And then there can be edema. You can lose your eyesight. And therefore, what they do, these people, the intervention. So modern intervention is against these capillaries, and so once a capillary breaks, then another capillary will come. If that breaks another capillary, all of them will be breaking, therefore eyesight will be gone due to all these the fluids. So what they do, by laser, they treat the capillaries. They are all burnt, so that it won't develop. Once they are burnt, naturally the system thinks something has gone wrong and therefore it will put up new capillaries. That is how the system is naturally programmed. And now you are going against the nature, and therefore what will happen? You have to, they will come and you have to keep doing this until all possibility is gone and you can have your eyes saved. By the time this comes, already you are 50, 60. So after a few years you will be able to see elephants and all that. And so you can live. You can live. Really true. So this is the intervening, all religions, these popular religions, aggressive religions, intervene. Human beings, common values, scorch them by indoctrination. And you can understand what conditioning can do. Already we are all conditioned beings. We have common mistakes and common values also. And working against the common values, because of our frailty, we are not able to live up to common values. The religion should give us strength to follow the common values. And you make the values non-common, one set of values for one group of humanity, another set of values for the other group. It's a divide, vertical divide. Basically, at the religious level, which is a core level, that is a harm done to a human being. And therefore harm done to humanity. So that's what is the issue. There is no other issue. Human beings are human beings. Until they are conditioned, they develop a new mindset. And therefore, this me and God separate is not helpful. So far it has not helped anybody. It cannot help because it is not true. It is against what you want. You want to be free from alienation. And you put a distance between you and God, who is all that is here. We have seen it, there is no other God possible. So if all that is here is Ishvara, what is it that estranges me from Ishvara? Nothing. I need to know. And that is what we have tried. We try to understand all that is here is Ishvara. Yadidam sarvam ayam atma brahma sarvam kalvidam brahma neha nanasti kinchana. Idam sarvam, all that is here is Brahman. Iha nana asti na asti kinchana. Here there is no second thing at all. इसके ऊपर क्या बोलना है? बोलने क्या क्या है? यह नाना नास्ति किंचन. There is no nana, plurality at all. Sarvam idam sarvam Brahma, Ishvara, cause of this world. If that is so, and you have to understand this Ishvara which is in the form of this Jagat, who is in the form of Jagat, conscious being. Space is the manifestation of the conscious being. Time is the manifestation of conscious being. Every law, every order is the manifestation of conscious being, who is all knowledge. It is all knowledge. This is how Ishvara is. There is nothing outside the consciousness. No knowledge is outside consciousness, And no Jagat is beyond the knowledge of consciousness. Knowledge consciousness, that is Ishvara. Limitless. See all the connections. Therefore, there is nothing inert, insentient or anything. Only there is the chair is chair consciousness. It's not separate from consciousness. Chair knowledge consciousness. But it is not aware of me. That is the difference. If it has a sukshma sharira, a mind, prana, senses, then it becomes a sentient thing, it's conscious of me. I am conscious of the chair and chair conscious of me. Then I should deal with chair as I deal with others. Mr. Chair, can you come and sit here for some time? I will. How much you will give? I have to have a deal. Now and then I may have to move out a little bit. So you may be sitting for 6 hours, I can't do that. And another thing, you get excited, then you say, do like this. And I went here because here is cushion, there is not. That's why I went here. So you do all this and then you should not do all that. You can put it on your head, not on me. I have to deal with that. Is why all knowledge Ishvara left the chair without sukshma sharira, prana and senses. That is the difference. It is not outside consciousness of Ishvara, outside the knowledge of Ishvara. No knowledge is outside consciousness. No object is outside knowledge. All that is here is Ishvara, forget anything else. Not forget, drop. Not drop, it drops, okay? In the wake of knowledge, everything else gets dropped. So you don't need a will for dropping. It gets dropped in the wake of knowledge. That is the beauty of knowing. When this is so, then all that is here, how will I understand? I will understand in a certain way, because I don't have all knowledge. I can only say, all knowledge is Ishvara. But I can't, by any stretch of imagination, to appreciate what is all knowledge. Just in a simple way I can know. May not be enough. That is why they say, I have got intellectual knowledge, nothing else. See, you can know all knowledge in terms of the whole. Like you know the forest without having botanical knowledge. And you hear also the wholeness. You can appreciate, but adequately understood in terms of different order. This is again Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad. There is Annamaya, there is Pranamaya, there is Manomaya, there is Vijnanamaya, there is Anandamaya. So Annamaya should include both physical as well as biological order. Physiological also. Prana separately is there, therefore we can stop at the biological level. So by the time you come to this body, already you are talking about elements, 5 elements. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, thus these sthula elements. So when this elephant, that is what we call the world, of different objects, therefore we can say there is a physical order. And are you away from different levels, I am asking? Are you away physically? Are you away from Ishvara? The physical order? Can you be away from the physical order? When I did like this, there is a clap, there is a sound. Correct? This sound, did you create the sound? Did I create the sound? Yes, I created. Why? Because I did like this. But you can do like this, there is no sound. Why it doesn't create sound? No sound at all. Sound. Therefore you understand, sound is given within the physical order. If you do like this, there is a force, it will sound. If you quietly do it, there is no sound. So there are two actions. In your words also you can do like this, or in your words also when you speak you can do like this. Correct? There are two ways of talking. There are two ways of responding. And therefore, speech also comes under prana. There is a physical order. I am sitting here. So when I do like this, there is sound. That's all within the physical order. And therefore, I am never away from the physical order. Neither you are away from the physical order, nor your grandfather, grandchildren, none of them is away from the physical order. Physical order is Ishvara, total. Biological order is Ishvara, total. No cell is away from the order, that is Ishvara. And the physiological order, wherever there are eyes, there is sight. That is called Devata. We don't worship many gods. We can have some more gods. We can have infinite gods. But all that is there is only one God. At the physical level, at the biological level, it's all total. I am not an exempt, an exception from the rigors of the laws. The laws are the same, physical. You can't go up the 7th floor and jump and float, expect to float. And like the snowflakes, slowly you come. Even though you are flaky. And you don't come down slow like snow. You come 32 feet per second, ever increasing thud. But was. Therefore, that's law. Everybody, nobody is an exemption. That's Ishvara, given. We try to understand this. Piecemeal they understand. That is called science. Total I understand. This is vision, wisdom. Piecemeal understanding doesn't make you wise. You remain otherwise. Piecemeal understanding is important sometimes. But this is not negotiable. And so the physical order, I am very much with Ishvara. Sarvam kalvitam brahma nega nanasti kinchan. Therefore, if I look at this Ishvara from my body standpoint, body is included. It gets up, it sits down. It is all within the physical order. Then there is a biological order, not distant between the physical body and the biology. There is no distance. And there is an order. Everybody else is a manifestation of biological order, biological laws. Order means various laws. And there is order. The other day you saw the Shamlaji hospital pictures, these girls and boys, those who have got cleft palate, certain deformities. Mother also has got and child also has got. Order. And we have the freedom to fix up also. Why it is also, that is order. And we can fix it up. So that can be, why it is can be in a twofold way we can explain, or more than that. One is we can say genetic. We can say karma. One more step. And once karma means you have the freedom to correct the karma. That's what Shamalaji hospital is. Anything that you do is to correct it, initiative, take initiative, reaching out initiative, and do something to make a difference. That's all within the order. And therefore, there is a biological order, and there is a physiological order. All these are taken into account. There is a psychological order, there is order of knowledge. All these function as a whole for your eyes to see. Eyes to see. That sight possibility is governed by a law, an order. So within the order alone there is defect and also correction of the defect. The impossibility of correction of the defect because the available knowledge doesn't correct. Centuries ago, what do you correct now was not corrected for want of knowledge. Now because of knowledge, because knowledge is always a possibility, you keep on gaining more and more knowledge, using the faculty, using the infrastructure, within the paradigms which keep on changing, and therefore you can interfere and get things corrected. Therefore immediately you think that you are a king. You are God. We bring about changes. Forgetting the infrastructure is given, the whole body is given. How anybody can forget this? It's so obvious. Everything is given. Even if you can produce a test tube baby, this is slip of the tongue. Test tube baby. Test tube baby. That's also given. The possibility is given. Faculty is given. Baby is born. Therefore, understand, there is a physical order, and biologically, if I look at, I find I am connected. Previously, I got alienated from my mother when I was born and the connection was snapped. Alienated. And further, there are further subjective alienations because of environment. Everybody has that, in different degrees, depending upon the environment. Alienation is our property. Inborn, helpless. Therefore, we want to remove away from this alienation. In the process, we create more alienation because we are accepting alienation. And we put that God away from us. During this life, you can't get him. He is too far away. Therefore, after death only you can reach. Look at the alienation. We don't need this kind of religions. We'll be better off without religions. We will have common sense values, we will have humanism, and humanism is enough. Rational humanism. If at all, but that is incomplete. You are settling for the less. You cannot really get rid of this alienation. Because the truth is no alienation. And that is what we need to bring in, that is our sadhana, the take home. When one feels alienated, in all situations, one feels alienated, one has to say, am I alienated? I may be alienated, I feel alienated from the immediate environment, but how am I alienated from the environment as such? From the total environment? From Ishvara, who is all? That is non-alienation. If you are not alienated from one person, you have to wait for 3 days, you get alienated. Kuch na kuch hoga. You don't agree that we alienated. Now I told you about Obama, then I am alienated from you. Because all of you are committed Obamis. I am not against Obama or anybody. I want people to be sane. That's it. What is good for you, you have to do. You have to think. This is what is going on. I'm just telling what is. Then you are free. You have to understand certain things. Then afterwards your decision is decision. I will back you up if I am alive. And therefore, this alienation between you and Ishvara is not going to be taken away by anybody. Anybody's action, anybody's thinking, anybody is coming, anybody is going. This alienation is, all these are within the Ishvara's ambit. So nobody can take you away from the presence of Ishvara in your awareness. You can't lose him if you know. You don't forget your name. You don't forget I am a human. There is no forgetting. And therefore nobody can take you away from the presence of Ishvara in your awareness, because you don't require physical presence, because anything physical, biological, anything physiological is Ishvara. Therefore you are never away physically from Ishvara. But your awareness being what it is, means understanding, being what it is. Not total, clear. And therefore, it can, your own conditioning can take you over. Your unconscious can take you over. To prove everything is not all right. Therefore, your sadhana would be bring back to your awareness the presence of Ishvara. Everybody is, your understanding of people also becomes more objective. So without being hurt or angry. Because you can understand, because that is also Ishvara. Order. So the more you understand, Ishvara is also psychological order. Human psychology is a science. Like physiology, biology, physics. Psychology also is a very complex science. Because it's unpredictable. A person who is not angry generally gets angry in one thing. Generally one who is angry is not angry. And therefore there is something else that controls. You don't need a situation. Sometimes you need a situation. You become sad for no reason, but there is a reason. It's underneath. Therefore, this is what the psychology tries to fathom. If you see an accident on the road, and then there is a crowd, one person, you see, you just go because you have to go to work. You don't stop the car. And somebody slows down the car and then looks at it and then goes. Third person gets down from the car and wants to see whether he can help in any way and then goes. Somebody seeing it gets a shock. Somebody prays. Somebody gets angry. Against the traffic, against the government. It's all bush. As though he makes accidents happen. Don't think I am supporting. I have got a lot of jokes of bush, So don't. I'm just telling. We try to find some scapegoat. That's a trait, particular trait, looking for a scapegoat. And so what I say, this is all psychology. Very complex, because one day the person behaves to an accident, responds to an accident in one way. The same type of accident another day, he responds differently. Depending upon the day, what happened in the morning. So that's why it's complex. Therefore, there are scientists of other disciplines who don't take psychology as a science because it's too subjective. Now slowly they have accepted because they are able to show there is a connection between the behavior patterns and the background of the person. And the background of the person accounts for the behavior patterns. So you have to understand this. One has to understand this. That is psychology. then you can validate yourself. I am fine. You can validate others also. That is where understanding, compassion comes. We cannot be compassionate for one thing and another thing I am not compassionate. That's not compassion. So compassion means accepting Ishvara in the form of order. There is no question of anybody behaving outside the psychological order. Therefore, I am angry, I can do anything. That's not correct. Because I am given free will. My action can be one that doesn't hurt another. We are not allowed to do that. That is why we have got Dhamma, take home. That is called Dhamma. I am angry and I will say I am angry now and I will talk to you later. Or be quiet. And write your anger out, talk your anger out safely, and then respond, interact. This is how it is done. Dhamma first and Shama second. Writing out is Shama, Dhamma. And therefore, you are in touch with the whole. Estrangement is possible even if you know I am always in harmony with Ishvara. That is the reality. Are you in harmony with Ishvara? Means in terms of order, this order, psychological order, anyone, your arch enemy also is having a psychology. That is order, Ishvara's psychology. As my psychology is governed by Ishvara. Governed by Ishvara means just very much is there, present. In the form of order. So in the anxiety there is so much Ishvara. In your anguish there is so much Ishvara. In your anger there is so much Ishvara. In the other also it is the same. Ishvara doesn't fight Ishvara. Ishvara means there is Ananda, there is fullness. Your harmony and your connectedness is not to be established, it is already there. Take home is own it. By sadhana, own it. What is the sadhana? Pinch yourself and see whether it causes pain. Then that is Ishvara. Oh, this is Ishvara. Because if you pinch, if you pinch, there will be pain. If it doesn't pain, then there is also Ishvara. You must go to a doctor. Yeah, neurologist. Because this side there is nothing wrong, some nerve problem is there, and therefore go to a neurologist, get yourself corrected. That is Ishvara. That's the presence of Ishvara. If I go on doing like this Ishvara, it is painful for me. It is a painful Ishvara, that's it. This is not a joke. So, seeing in my awareness the presence of Ishvara, especially when it is understood, then I practice. This practice is not one day, 1 hour, 2 days, 3 days. You can't say, I have practiced so many months, nothing happened. What is this practice you are talking about? It is Ananda practice. Because you are in harmony, Ananda. This is what Ananda is at this level. Therefore, you are operating from different levels. From emotional level, from physiological level, from physical level. At all levels, you are in harmony with Ishvara. Therefore, then this Ananda cannot go away from you. The next is intellectual level. You will be very happy because I use the word intellectual. What I mean at the level of knowing, intellectual is gone. At the level of knowing, there is Ishvara. Error is there because there is a law. There is an order there. And therefore that order, within that order you are committing a mistake. Every human being has two legs. If the fellow is normal, okay, I have to put that class. Because some of them don't have both the legs. So every human being has two legs. Therefore what? Human being has two legs. And the other reverse is that any being which has two legs is a human being. There is a defect in it. This is Ishvara. Because you are committing a mistake. What is the mistake? Every crow will become Ishvara. No, every crow will become human being. This is a slip of the tongue. You have to understand what can be the slip of the tongue. And so this is knowledge-wise. It's a wrong conclusion. Because there is a contradiction to the Vyapti. Every human being has two legs. If everything is normal, you have to put that class. And then one who has two legs, any being which has two legs, is a human being. So here also, anything two legs is a human being means then you will find a ladder is a human being. So another problem. Therefore I said, any being which has got two legs is a human being. Not enough. That also is defective. Because cranes are there and kakas are there. And the kaka means crow. So that is defect. So once this defect is there, defect you are able to say because in the order of Ishvara, there are beings which have two legs, but not human beings. So that before any inference you make, you have to take into account whether your postulate is proper or not, taking into account what is there. That is the way of thinking. There is so much Ishvara. Then there is dharma, the order of values. Value is common, must be there, is given because you have got the freedom. If you are totally programmed like a cow, there will be no regret, no guilt. A cow also can gore a person to death if it is afraid. It doesn't have dharma. It has no dharma. It is always dharmic, therefore no dharma. It behaves as it is programmed. And therefore, if it has to kick, it will kick. If it has to hit you with its horn, it will do. It will attack you. And if you die, it is your responsibility. And this is the cow is, there's no problem. It doesn't regret. It has no guilt. It has got only one-sided value. That is, I should not be hurt by any other. Finished. The cow doesn't think about the other. In a small way, the owner, it has got some protective and affection, etc., care. Dogs and other animals have something for the master. To some extent. There is no understanding that I am expecting from others certain actions. I don't expect certain things from them, from all others. And I know that they also expect the same thing from me. When I know that, that is called dharma. Dharanat dharma ityahu. Dharayati sarvan iti dharma. Sarvam dharayati. It sustains everything. It is the basis for human interaction or human action. And therefore, so with the inert environment means insentient environment, you can do anything, you can destroy it. Because it cannot protest, the rocks cannot protest. Therefore you can do whatever it is. Whatever you want to do. And therefore action, I said. Interaction is others can kick back. Here kickback means something else, And so this kickback, that also included. And therefore, in all these interactions, you must have a basis, common basis, so that we need not hurt others, others need not hurt us. We conform to that. Ishvara. In dharma there is Ishvara. Not hurting others, and I don't want to be hurt either. That is Ishvara. If that is there, Ishvara in the form of dharma. Very important. That is why this mandate of God is not dharma. Common values we all know. That is dharma, that is Ishvara, that is given. I am in harmony with Ishvara because I am called upon to respond to the world, and every time I respond, I have to have a basis. Sometimes it is spontaneous and therefore it is good. And sometimes I get into conflict, my own desires, my own ambitions, my own issues, all of them come and interfere. And therefore what should I do? Go back to dharma. Accept all these as another Ishvara and act according to dharma. What is proper? Take home. What is proper? What other would do in the same position? Suppose I get hurt, and then, if somebody does this to me, then what will I feel? I don't do that. And therefore, there is Ishvara, presence in the form of dharma. That is the core presence. We need the core presence because that is the core person. You are a cognitive person. There is a basic person. And that person has this knowledge. What is dharma? What keeps all people going? And in this, my response to the world is unhurtful. Others' response should be so. If they have the same presence of Ishvara, dharma as the basis to operate, they don't allow the desires and ambitions to overrule dharma, then we have to correct them. That correction is what one has to do, not hurt. So that is a very big job. That is what I am saying. In all the global conferences of religious leaders, we try to change the thinking so that they recognize the presence of Ishvara, the presence of Dharma as the common basis in one's heart. And that is Ishvara is a little too much for them. Unless they come to my class, I cannot do that. I only go by my right to be free from your violence. And you have got a right to be free from anybody's violence. Therefore, we all have the same human right to live in our own spaces without hurting each other. This is what I espouse. That is the thumb space. To live in harmony. But that is Ishvara, is a fortunate few. Only a few fortunate people can understand that. And once you understand Dharma is Ishvara, you can understand when am I estranging? When is the time I estrange from Ishvara? When I move away from Dharma. I don't want to get hurt, and nobody else wants to get hurt. Not hurting is Paramo Dharma. Ahimsa, Paramo Dharma. All other values stem from that. This is Ananda. Alienation gone. I have no agenda. And therefore, this is Ishvara. Therefore, Ananda, Raso Vaisaha, Rasaguhyevayam labdvanandi bhavati, Kohyevanyat pranyat, Yesha Anando yadi nasyat. If this Ananda Atma is not there, who will live? Who will live? Who will breathe? This Ananda sustains everything. Ananda is Ishvara. Ishvara is Ananda, of course. Ananda sustains everything in the form of Ishvara. Therefore, Raso Vaisaha, Ishvara is Ananda. Rasam labdva, Anandi bhavati. I am Purusha. So knowing this Rasam, Ananda, Anandi bhavati, this is what happens whenever you are happy. You are in touch with the whole. That is Ishvara. Your personal judgments about yourself, others, all these for the time being resolve. You are in touch with the whole. Hey, 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 hey. A quiet Ananda, or laughing Ananda, smiling Ananda, like the fullness of the ocean. Sometimes it's a quiet fullness, sometimes it's a smiling fullness, or roaring fullness, but it is fullness all the time. That's what a person is. Now experientially, when drop our judgments due to a situation that captures your imagination, and then you are in touch with the whole, really speaking. Because the whole is what you confront and the subject, both form the whole. What I confront, what I see is not an object of confrontation. What I objectify makes me drop my sense of want. Somebody said, you are wonderful. Then just in the beginning I don't believe. And then I ask that person, really? Do you think so? Do you think so? Yes, you are wonderful, really. Subject, object. And therefore my own judgment, afterwards I will judge. I think this fellow is simply acting. How can he say I am wonderful? I think he has got a plan to get me. Our usual problems. The old imp comes out. And then again, something happens, then at that time, so all my wanting person resolves. So I am happy. At that time also, I am in touch with the whole Ishvara, without knowing. Now, we understand, at every level I am in touch with Ishvara. Whenever I lose that connectedness, I have to pinch myself and get back to myself. Getting back to myself is not getting away from the world. Getting back to myself is the reality that I am ever connected to the whole. That is getting back to myself. It is not denying myself the presence of the world. That means I have apprehensions, I have fears. I have given reality to them, therefore it is all just fetish. There is no reality. There is nothing to be away from, because I am always in harmony with Ishvara. The next step would be, I am Satchidananda. So my connectedness with Ishvara is what? There is only Satchidananda sustaining me. Me as one who is confined to this body, mind, sense complex as an individual. And Ishvara who is all knowledge, all that is here, both are limitless consciousness, Satchidananda. Therefore I am the whole. And that is called Ananda. You bring in Ishvara, Ananda, you forget yourself, not knowing, then also Ananda, that is Ishvara. Some kind of Ananda, to the extent you have forgotten. To the extent that the situation, invoked your good humor. Then you are in touch with Ishvara without knowledge. That's called relative Ananda. Ananda absolute is consciousness as such, limitless consciousness, which is Ishvara, which is individual. And the individual and Ishvara, they are only upadhi-wise, because of the body-mind-sense complex-wise, there is individual Ishvara. But Ishvara is never separate from the individual, because the individual body is, individual world is Ishvara. Individual body is sustained by Ishvara's order. And individual biological order, physiological order, and psychological order, epistemological order, and order of dharma, karma, memory, everything. It's all one order. Big order, that is Ishvara. When are you away? Not only you are away, you must know, others also are not away. Whether they know it or not. You know it. That's what's important. Others may not know. And if you know, others may come to know. You pray for them if you want them to know. But you know, others are others because of the peculiar upadhis they have, but they also can understand the common presence of Ishvara. Therefore, nobody is different from you. If you accept the order, because nobody is away from the order, genetic order. And therefore even karma difference becomes Ishvara's order. Therefore, various intrinsic difference. There is no difference. There is only one Ishvara. So, it is real take home, okay? So pinch yourself, feel the presence. That's the only way. There's no other way. Thank you. Correct? Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Om Shanti 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 Arihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Arihi Om. Thank you.